So there you go, a little preview of our whole documentary. Eric, you were there at the Hockey Hall of Fame a little bit less than a month ago.
Yep.
How was it?
That was awesome. I mean, honestly, if you're a hockey fan, I don't know if you guys have been at the Hall of Fame or...
Never been.
Awesome. Like, it's hard to describe in the sense that it's so well done. Like, and take an example, like my oldest, Max, loves hockey, loves the history of hockey. Like, it was so funny because it's so well done because it's so big and massive, and then there's history, and then there's interactive games, and then there's, so you get my youngest that's trying to go to interactive games and shoot puck, and then you got Max that's so intellectual that he's reading everything, which takes hours.
Be there for a month,
yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you could be there for a couple days. That's our 804 back then when he beat Gordie Howe. That's 80, whatever the net's
I think
there.
it was 804.
Yeah, 804, whatever. I should know. I mean, that's... but it's like, it was fun. It was... but for us, it was obviously because of the induction, and it was fun to see so many old friends. And, we had you could see there on the documentary there... on the footage that we just saw, we had, a special dinner one night, that Sunday night. It was fun.
Yep.
All former either Avs or clients of my dad, and we had an open mic, and guys were just grabbing the mic, had a couple glasses of wine, and and it was fun. I mean, it was awesome. It was good to see everybody together. It was just special. The Hall of Fame does an unbelievable job. Kelly Massey and her group there, she's amazing. And all the other inductees were so good, and they're all there with their families, and so you kind of interact and everything. So it was fun. This RG's done an unbelievable job. It sounds like, obviously that was the first time I see this, but a lot of good friends, good hockey people. Forget about the hockey players, but good hockey players that are good friends and good big part of my dad's life. And I think it's going to be awesome, something to watch, and understand a little bit more about the history of the Avalanche too. You know what I mean? With Charlie Lyons in there, and original owner of, with Comsat Entertainment. So sounds like RG and Megan did amazing. I mean, they were talking to a lot of people for 3-4 days, and there's a lot. I can't wait to see how it turns out. That's going to be awesome.
I'm sure the whole piece will be great itself. I'm sure we'll also have a bunch of standalone interviews for you guys to watch and listen to, where we talk about, obviously, Pierre, but some about the Avs' current roster as well.
For sure.
So we're looking forward to it. We hope you guys enjoy it as much as we do when it does come out. All right, let's get into today's show. Let's start at the obvious topic here. Everyone's seen the Mikko interview by now. Talking shit. Or talking about people talking shit. One of the two.
I like that we have reached the talking about people stage. Full meta podcast.
I want to start here. Is this real? Is there actual animosity between Arturi Lehkenon's dad and Mikko Rantanen? Or because I've seen a lot of people online saying, the Finnish people, they just have dry humor, and this is just all fun and games.
I'm pretty sure the entire country of Finland came out on Twitter last night to defend Ismo. And I think it's, my reading on it was, there's nothing between Lecky and Mikko.
Lecky and Mikko are good. Yeah.
Those guys are childhood friends, and there's no way, and I think these are just I think Lecky's dad is just doing his job, and Mikko's just defending himself. I think that's all it was hey, he kind of said a little something it was maybe a little out of pocket.
Yep.
And I didn't love it. And so that was his response to it. And we say things about players all the time.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Constantly.
And they don't love.
Yep.
And I think that's probably where
talking about a guy's off-season work ethic.
And talking about what he did in the off-season, how hard he was working and all that. I mean, I don't know if that was necessarily how it was intended, but that's certainly how it came across to an awful lot of people, and I think Mikko was on that list.
Yeah.
So, and I can see you being like, hey, you want to criticize me because I haven't scored any goals in a few games? Fine. But you wait until I go goalless in 9 games
To say I didn't work in the off season.
Yeah, to say that my off season wasn't, you know, like you didn't say anything when I had 12 goals through 18 games. My off season work ethic wasn't a problem then. You know, and so he goes a couple of games without scoring a goal, and all of a sudden that gets said. I can understand where Mikko's like, give me a break.
Totally.
Come on.
But I don't think Mikko, if he doesn't have that third period, comes out swinging after the game, right? I think it was all relative.
That goal change.
Hey, listen, we were pumped, right? Yeah. Anybody on their couch, anybody at Ball Arena, anybody in the dressing room, C-Mac, that doesn't show a lot of emotion, was pumped for sure. You know what I mean? It's an exciting game.
Yeah.
It was.
It was a great game at the end of the day.
You're all around North America and Europe, you're watching that game. It was exciting if you're an Avs fan, right? If you're a Calgary fan, it was like, oh, that one stings. You know what I mean? But for them, it was exciting. So I think he gets in the locker room, he's excited. You know what I mean? He's pumped. And, you know, he had, you know, he got off the schneid and, you know, he swings a little bit. You know what I mean? I don't think it was fake. I think it was, you know, he was mad. You know what I mean?
For sure.
100%. And I think you're bang on, though. I don't think he's mad at his teammate. I think
Not
he's
at all, yeah.
mad at what the guy said, which happens to be
His teammate's dad.
You know, so.
And I don't think that it would create any kind of tension between the two. They're different people.
Yeah.
It really shouldn't be a thing.
Yeah.
And you know, we've seen the helicopter hockey dads in the sport, you know, the guys that have a reputation for being maybe a little bit too hands-on. You know, I think Mitch Marner's dad gets a lot of that kind of reputation. It was a trip. And we're actually, funny enough, going to talk about this later.
It's funny for you, not for other people sometimes.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah, we'll get to it
He
later.
didn't have to deal with that directly.
Yeah,
Oh, you did?
we just watched that guy send out crazy tweets and say that you can choose good life or something, and you were like, what did I just read? Way before AI was a thing, it felt like we were reading tweets from an AI, man. Like that machine learning was in its kindergarten stage.
Yeah.
No, but it was. You know, like I don't think there's anything between those two teammates. And when you talk about Lecky's dad, it's not like Lecky's dad calls up a paper and is like,
I got a scoop for you.
I'm mad about this right now. He's like, this is him doing his job.
Yeah.
And I think that gives Mikko a little bit of cover to fire back at it.
Yeah.
Because if one of us was out here saying, oh, he didn't work hard enough, he could just as easily go in the locker room and be like, DNVR doesn't know shit.
Yeah. Absolutely.
He could just do the same exact thing, except it's at us, and we're not Lecky's dad. So,
And it's not an opinion, right? I mean, that's right. If he had a bad game, it's an opinion. You feel, oh, he wasn't good.
That's different.
In my book, that's different. When you're stepping out of, and you, like you said, you go into personal lives, and you know that's your personal stuff in the summer. I mean, was he working out with them, or was he? You know what I'm saying? Like, probably not. You know, but.
Well,
So
even if he was, is he with him 24 hours
That's
a
what
day?
I'm
Like,
saying.
are you privy to every single thing that the guy does? Even if you guys are training together, like, I don't know. To me, it was an out of pocket thing to say at a very conveniently timed.
Worked out for Mikko for sure.
Yeah, and it's. I don't know. Would somebody, if Lecky had a bad start to the year, would somebody have said the same thing about Lecky? How would his dad appreciate that?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, like, would you be like, how would that person know? Like, what are you talking about? So I just think it was the substance of what got said, and that's where Mikko was probably just like, I'm not about this.
Yeah.
But also, can the hockey world get more of this?
Oh, please.
Because you know that these things exist.
Oh yeah.
You know that these sentiments are run rampant throughout the sport, where they're like, that guy's not working as hard as I am. And what are we doing? I thought we're trying to win a Stanley Cup here. What's going on? So each other. They like when there are rivalries. They like when it's not so buddy all the time. And the NHL feels way too much of a, you know that this isn't real, but you know that there's also, you know, Eric talks about it all the time. That guy's a great guy.
Yeah.
You made me, Eric made me shake Richard Matvichuk's hand at the start of the season, which broke my heart.
Did you want him to be mad?
Yeah, because I've hated him all of my life. Then I was
that
like,
was me at the Hall of Fame with Ken Hitchcock. Awesome dude. I walked in, I was
Damn
like, oh, Hitch, you know that, and my God, it couldn't have been nicer. I fell in love with him. Fell in love with him, his family, his friends. Like, awesome. It was, but you're bang on. Sorry to cut you off. But
No,
I'm
totally.
trying to say it's so funny because it's what sports does, right?
Right.
You want to,
But you
hate
want
them,
you want to know,
yeah.
like when you're in the midst of hating them, you want to know that.
Yeah.
You know, you want to know when they see a guy on the other side of it. You know, if there's an Avs player that hates a Stars player, you know, what if Yanni Hakanpää's like the one Finn that's not best friends with all the other Finns?
Yeah.
I want to know if Mikko and Kivi Ranta and Lehkenon are like, we hate that guy.
Yeah.
I want to know that stuff. Lean into it. I want more of that drama.
I think the part of it is I don't mind when you have, these guys are good friends or everyone's best friends, everyone's homies in the league. That's fine. What bothers me is all of the super sanitized interviews and media presence that players have. Connor McDavid is the guy we always talk about, the perfect example of every time he gets in front of a mic, he has no emotions. He sits like this. He says, yeah, we played good as a hockey team. Yeah, I tried my best. There's never anything there, right?
Yeah.
And the NHL is clearly starving for this type of content, going all the way back to last year when they had the whole interview about Draisaitl being pissy, and the entire world was like, "Oh my God, this is amazing! Was he pissy? I love this."
I mean, Pete Blackburn, Jesus, from What Chaos, last night tweeted, he was like, how am I supposed to sleep now? Now that I know a star player
hates his teammates dead.
Yeah, like wants to fight his teammates dead. Like the hockey world this stuff already exists.
Yep.
It's not like it's manufactured.
Just put it out there.
It's not like we're making it up. This stuff exists.
We are robots.
Let's
you know what I mean?
let's just lean into it a little bit more. It's a weird thing to say, but I kind of just want to get my hockey hate on.
Go to last week. I mean, for me, one of the dumbest things, and I mean with all the respect in the world for the people that have to do it, is the coach's interview during the game on the bench. I think it's the stupidest thing. I have a hard time with it, because what are you going to get? Like, really?
Yeah.
And then you saw Brendan Moore last week. He's like, oh, my God. We're going to lose 50-0. And it made the rounds everywhere the next day, right? Wasn't it everywhere?
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
funny. He's like, oh, my God, I don't know what they're thinking, but this is ugly as shit. He was just losing his shit. You know what I mean? And you're right. That's my point. It's like when it's out of the ordinary, except of, let's get pucks deep and,
I really don't like the way that we are playing to our identity right now. We got to get back to
game plan.
We got to play on our toes, not our heels.
None of that. Just say they effing suck.
It was
Right.
funny.
I mean, you're right.
Funny.
It was a great moment because when I saw the tweet about it, I was like, I've got to go listen
I watched
to
it
this.
live. I was crying. I was like,
And it
whoa. And it was bad.
It was hilarious because he was mad. Like
that's what I mean. The
they
game was
got
bad.
him
Like, it was
in the
bad.
emotion of
You
it.
see
They
it boiling
got
up.
him. Yeah. You could see. Yeah.
Oh, it was funny.
Don't have to name any names or even go into it, Eric.
Yeah.
Did you ever have any beefs? Any real beefs in your playing time?
Or in your front office time.
All that?
with parents, you mean?
Yeah.
I mean,
Media,
whatever. Like,
parents,
yeah.
whatever, yeah.
Well, yeah. He asked me that question last night about my exit out of Colorado. We'll get into that one day, you and I. Yeah, which led to from a media comment. That's all it was. And
Sure.
it was not the truth. And again, it was not the truth. It was not.
Yeah.
But it can escalate to something, right or wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then, sometimes. But no. I was a lover. I got along with everybody.
This is the funniest thing. Like,
Not that like he doesn't. That's not what I'm saying. But I actually, you know what? I'll rephrase that. Think about it. They probably all hated my dad, right? They were all pissed off about their contracts or whatever. So I'm sure, Yeah, more I think about it, it wasn't like it wasn't on TV. It was actually live. You know what I mean? Like it was live in the locker room. Like, God damn it, your dad. Like,
we started this pod with a nice flowery. We're doing a whole thing on Pierre's legacy. Here we are at the end of the first period of the same pod, being like everybody hated him.
no, I know, but I'm saying it was funny. More I think about it, yeah. Oh my God, yes. It must have been bad at times.
Was that going to be Mikko in the locker room at practice today?
Yeah.
Lecky, your dad.
Your dad. Tell him to shut up. That's funny.
I can imagine that the like anger over contracts and money and stuff.
for
was
sure.
Like,
Yeah.
like that stuff was very real all the
absolutely.
time.
Yep.
Yep.
Everybody wants to get paid. That's for sure.
What's that like?
Wouldn't know.
Broke for life.
Yeah. The whole thing is like a weird confluence of the perfect time for everything to go because Mikko had been playing poorly. He happens to have a good game immediately after. At the same time, and I know this isn't Lecky's fault, but he's out for another 6 to 8 weeks still. So it's a dad of a guy who's not even playing right now. It added up to be a perfect storm of juicy drama.
Why don't you take care of your own house there, Lecky's dad?
Didn't give Lucky enough milk growing up.
Yeah, right.
Breaking all the
Yeah, brittle bones. Way to go, Dad.
Well, I mean, go back to the Chris Stewart trade. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, how much do you want to
Stewart.
talk about that?
Yeah, I'm just saying that. I mean, we got shellacked. You know what I mean? Like, but again, looking back at it now, EJ, you know, was still playing for the Avs last year. Ended up being a pretty good trade. You know what I mean? But at the
And
moment,
Chris Stewart's career went pew.
yeah, and then you got to remember Paul Stastny was playing with Stewie, and then his dad Peter, which is obviously a Hall of Famer and Quebec Nordiques, and obviously finished in Jersey and all that stuff. I mean, he's an amazing legend.
Oh, yeah.
And he just went on the radio show and saying, listen, absolutely just murdered the trade and just saying it was the worst thing in the world. And he went everywhere. And now it's the same thing. And I remember us in management being so mad because it's like, right or wrong, it's not the point. Now look at the situation you put your son in. That's what we were telling him. Look at the situation you put your son in. Now he's going to walk in and go see Eric Johnson and go see Jay McClement and whatever the bodies were at the time. But it's tough. I mean, you're putting a little bit of a rift between. I think it's human nature. I'm not saying there is something between Lehkenon and Rantanen. I think he addressed it this morning. He goes, "Oh no, we're bros." But I think it's just human nature. Like, hey, what was your dad doing? You know what I mean? Like, right? I mean, I don't know.
I do think it's easier for Lehkenon and Rantanen being childhood friends and stuff, like going way back.
Yeah.
They can have that conversation where they're like, "Hey, we're good.
This is not me."
Yeah, this is. I just didn't appreciate what Gus said.
Yeah.
I think we even have Evan's tweet today.
Yeah, where they said Lecky and Mikko specifically, it said was all good, right? So
Yeah.
Yep, there you go. Evan has the tweet up specifically saying for the audio only. Mikko Rantanen the day after. Everything is okay. Just finish journalism. Who happens to be Arturi's dad. Me and Art are really good buddies. Been forever, and I love him. Just a journalist questioning my professionalism. That's what pushed me over the edge a little bit.
There you go.
Yep.
I agree.
And so I think that's an easier situation than like what Paul Stastny had to deal with, which he's getting a brand new teammate in
Yeah, I
Eric
was like,
Johnson. Probably a guy that he doesn't know super well.
Yep.
You know, maybe through the USA hockey channels they'd played together or something like that. But like otherwise, like
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Certainly different than being on a line with Chris Stewart for a year and a half.
well, yeah, and then like I can understand, you know, hey, those guys had found success together and they were at the time Colorado's best players.
Yeah.
What happened there, bud? But like that's a tough spot for Paul. And that's a tough spot for EJ.
Yeah.
A guy that desperately wanted a fresh start. And was like, I'm getting out from under the weight of number one overall.
That's why
and
we were so mad. You know?
everything is, you know, and I'm walking in, and the first thing that I do is I walk in and the dad of our 1C, of my new 1C is pissed.
Ripping me a new
And the legend and the franchise,
Right.
right? You know, obviously
Yeah.
the Nordiques, not the Avs, but still, like, you know.
Yeah, the Stastny name and the bloodline was kind of hallowed in the franchise's history.
Yeah, that was a tough one.
You go to your buddy and you say, "Hey, my dad's an idiot. It's all
Yeah.
good." You go
Yeah.
to someone you've never talked to before and have to be like, "My dad said some stuff that I don't really agree with."
Look, this is gonna. My dad's gonna fight your dad, and
Who's stronger? That's funny.
Anyway,
I mean, looking at today, it's funny. It wasn't funny back
No,
then.
I bet
yeah,
not.
of course. I mean,
Yeah.
it's you know, given enough time, most things are easy to laugh at, right?
Oh,
true
yeah.
enough. It's all fun and games.
Especially
in the end.
silly sports stuff where it's just like
not that important in the grand scheme.
somebody's dad said something mean about a guy, and everybody involved was an adult, so they eventually got over it. You think that's why Paul left for St. Louis? Because he and Eric didn't get along.
They just swapped.
They became
Yeah.
good buddies, actually, but they were good buddies. I know that. So, not saying they. I'm sure they knew each other before, but
Yeah.
but they became good buddies. So all good.
In the end, it's all good. Can't bet on drama, but you can bet on sports with Bet365. If you think Mikko's going to be fueled by the drama, you can bet on him to pop off again tomorrow against EJ in Buffalo, no less. All right, well, here against Buffalo.
EJ's return.
Yeah, the return of
Yes,
EJ.
the Condor.
You can get over to Bet365. Use the DNVR 365 code to get amazing boosts when you sign up, including a 30% parlay boost for any NHL game. They have a ton of other options to earn free bets and things like that. So go check it out. Keep your sports never ordinary with Bet365 today. You must be 21 or older, physically located in Colorado. And, of course, if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER today. And then, if you want to go see it in person, see the return of EJ, you can get your tickets through Game Time. Go over to Game Time and download their app today. When you sign up with code DNVR there, you get $20 off your first purchase, where you get the best prices guaranteed through Game Time. They have a bunch of great options to save money. And the coolest one, if you find tickets cheaper somewhere else, they will reimburse your account 110% of the price. So it's the best deal you can get with Game Time. Download the app today. Join over 15 million people who get their tickets through Game Time. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. AJ, you did the top 5. I have no idea what it's about today.
I sent this at like 4 a.m. I don't remember.
Oof.
But we have a Bet365 Never Ordinary top 5 of something.
Yes. So this was a specific list with Eric Johnson in mind. I have a top 5 beloved former Avs, and I excluded guys that came back. So no Forsberg, no Foote, no
Sure.
Tanguay, guys like that.
They got
Guys
their
that-
last ride
Yeah,
kind of
and
thing. Yeah.
guys that never left, like Hayduk and Sakic, are
Obviously,
obviously
yeah.
also excluded. Walk, guys like that. Guys
Yep.
who retired as Avs don't count.
Yep.
So I started this off with a slightly controversial name.
Some drama.
With Ryan O'Reilly, because every time Ryan O'Reilly comes back to Denver, or the Avs play whatever team that he's on this year, Avs fans just seem to be like, God, I still love that guy. And I think the contingent of forever mad about the contract stuff and him going for the money is now greatly outweighed by the people who just appreciate what a good player he became in the NHL and what a missed opportunity it was. I could be wrong on this, and I thought this was a little controversial, but again, it was like 4 a.m, and I was...
So I think the group has reduced, but I also think that's there's no one in the middle of this conversation on Ryan O'Reilly. It's either you still hate him or his hockey's so good, just come back, bro.
But I do we have time to talk a little bit about him?
Yes, absolutely.
go
Yeah.
on.
I just wanna
He
make
was
sure.
the one I figured would generate most conversation.
No, listen, I love him. I really do. He's one of my favorite of all time. Working in the front office, there was something about him you knew he was gonna make it. And there's two sides to everything. I think on our side, management side, I think it was mismanaged. It was his contract situation, which led to his next contract negotiation. With now Patty and Joe, and I was gone by then, but you knew his. I don't know how to say it. Like, he was so far ahead of his years. Like, he was an 18-year-old going on 30. You know what I mean? And so mature. We put him with Darcy Tucker. Tucky was be like, this guy's so mature, scary. You know what I mean? Like, it would be like you just came back from a 7-game in 10 days road trip and 4 a.m, and the kid is gone the next day for a 5-mile jog. You know what I mean? On a day off. And Tucker would be like, this is nuts. Like, this guy is amazing. But I was going to say something about him. Jesus, because I was like, can we talk about him? That's what's through my chain of thought here. I'll get it back. But
it also kind of ties into our dad conversation,
It does,
because
yeah.
his dad,
yeah,
as the Avs were going through some of those hard negotiations,
Definitely amplified the signal quite a bit.
his dad was very vocal. So I guess from your side of it.
it can create a problem. And it did. I'm going to be honest with you, because then you started reading it and you're like, oh my God, like, what is this? Is this the guy? Is this the kid telling his dad? Or is this the dad? And no offense to Mr. O'Reilly, good man, but sometimes things are better left unsaid. You know what I mean? We always say, if you're not there, why are you commenting? Because now it looks like it's your son commenting. Right?
Yeah.
And that's the problem. But my story I was going to say was, it's funny because that's the year Duchesne goes 1, right? And Ryan goes 2.
round 1. Yeah.
No, second rounder. Ryan's a second rounder.
Ryan's 2. Duchesne goes round 1.
Yeah, round 1.
O'Reilly goes round 2.
Right, second round.
Yeah.
And you got to remember, we have a model. We're going to be the youngest team in the league, lowest payroll in the league. We're going to re-strip this thing. And so training camp comes, and this guy's awesome, so smart. This guy was so smart. Came in like he's just as smart as he was today that he was at 18. He's a smart player. He comes in, and then we have our meetings, and it's like, and then all of a sudden they're like, okay, and the pro scouts are there, and the staff is like, so O'Reilly's got 2 games in juniors this weekend. Yeah, okay. We're not sending Ryan O'Reilly back, and then I'm like, and I'm part of it. I'm like, why? I'm just asking why. Who is better than him now that we're stripping this thing? Why wouldn't we play this guy? And it was so funny because everybody was like, and then Joe, and you got to give credit to Joe Sacco too at times, like, because he's like, I'll play him. Yeah. I got no problem because he's better than what we have or what we're going to get or what we're going to keep from the American League. And why not give this kid a chance? And it was so funny because everybody thought he was leaving. And in a matter of one meeting, he was staying. And this guy never played a game in the American League or never played in juniors ever again.
First, second rounder to jump straight through in like
the last
decades
one,
or whatever.
Patrice
Bergeron. That's what I was going to say. It was the only one in that span of like 10 years. Yeah. It's Bergeron, then it's him. Because it's like, oh no, he's a second rounder. You're not supposed to make it. But I'm like, I understand that, but I remember raising the point, like, what do you mean he's not supposed to? What does that mean? Who's our option? Budo?
Yeah.
You're not picking me there. That's for sure.
My point. So that's where we were picking. I think you were second. You were next. So anyway, love him. Awesome kid. Awesome. And no surprise, this guy won the Conn Smythe and won the Stanley Cup, and he's a captain in the NHL. Awesome.
And a big what if.
Yep.
And then a lot of people were talking about, he's mad because Landeskog was the captain. Trust me, that was never an issue. You got to remember Ryan was holding out at that time when Landy got named captain. And I think Ryan would tell you, no, Landy is the captain. They're different. And I think that it was just, both of them would have been good captains. But I think if you had been in that room, everyone knew Gabe Landeskog is the captain of this franchise. I think it was the right choice.
It's hard to feel like anybody made a bad call.
Right.
That's my point.
It worked out for everybody in the end.
The Avs ended up winning a cup. O'Reilly got a cup at one point. I mean,
that's my point.
It just feels like
that's what I'm saying. It was win-win. I mean, it was not a bad choice.
Do the Avs end up with Cale Makar if they keep Ryan O'Reilly? Like, you have no idea how things go.
Yep.
That's right.
Who knows?
All right. Anyway, that was
on
my
to number
story,
4,
Ryan.
though.
Yeah, number 4. I honestly don't remember. Yes, Adam Deadmarsh. One of gets traded in the Rob Blake deal, who I did not include on this list because Avs fans don't seem to have the same fondness for Rob Blake over the years.
Shorter time,
Yeah.
I
don't know.
And Deadmarsh is, you talk to anybody that was around from that period when the team moved here, who's one of your favorite players, and it's Adam Deadmarsh comes up over and over and over again because he played with that reckless abandon, but he was good.
Yep.
He had that skill. He wasn't like your classic, like, oh, this is your bottom 6 guy. He's not like a Miles Wood.
No.
He was, no offense obviously to Wood, just he brought a lot more offense to the table. And that combination of things made him very fond. For younger Avalanche fans, they're going to be like, okay. But trading Adam Deadmarsh
Tough.
was
Ballsy.
It was
ballsy.
Just as an Avalanche fan at the time, it was heartbreaking to me. And I understood from it's Rob Blake, dude.
Yeah, of course you do it, but it's still you still feel it. Yeah.
It was like, oh, this is extracting a toll. This is a price right here.
No, he was he's one of my all-time favorite teammates. I love him. We've had so much fun together, and then we worked together when he was assistant coach with the Avs, and we have a passion about food, the two of us, and that's what we just love food. Just like you guys, he would fit right in here. He's the best. He's the best. We're gonna get him on.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just have him come hang out in studio, and we'll just eat and talk about hockey.
Eat everything I say no to.
Yeah, we've talked about that before. It's well documented. My dad's toughest trade ever. And again, then you're gonna get Rob Blake, another one of my great friends. You know what I mean? But forward D. I mean, whatever they thought they needed. But
I mean,
it's
if you can trade a top 6 wing for a number 1 defenseman,
he was awesome. Like Detter was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, he was tough as nails. He could score. He could skate. And I remember, if you're a hockey fan and you like YouTube videos and everything, go look at the '96 World Cup. He's a freaking underrated player on that team there when they beat my Team Canada. Team USA was awesome there.
and
Daddy was a big part of it.
all heart.
All
I mean,
heart.
the guy left everything out on the ice, and that's what made him so easy to love.
He was nuts in those rivalries with the Red Wings. Like, he was nuts in the locker room. Be like, let's brawl, let's brawl. And you'd be like, oh my God, he'd be walking around the room like a caged bear. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's the best.
So the period
what a
would start,
play.
and it was uncaging the bear. All right, Daddy, go get him.
Awesome.
A couple of things there. One, with Dead March, I think it's amplified even more so of how quickly his career got derailed after he left Colorado with all the concussion stuff. That sucked. And then on the Rob Blake side of it, a surprising amount of people that watch the Avs in the right time frame continue to be very upset that Rob Blake ended Peter Mueller's career.
Yeah, because he boarded him, and that squashed the noggin and started all the concussion issues that Mueller ended up having.
Yep.
That
It was just a hard play. I mean, like,
Mueller was off to an awesome start in
playing the
Colorado.
best hockey of his life.
he was a
and,
good kid. Yeah.
and it never got the same. It was never the same for him after
that
that.
line was amazing. It was him, Duchesne, and Hayduke. Like,
Yeah.
they were on
Yep.
fire.
Yeah. And it
fire.
was so much of the conversation of that era was, we need a winger for Matt Duchene. When are the Avs going to find the right guy for Matt Duchene? And they got Peter Mueller, and all of a sudden it was like they found him.
Boy,
Holy crap.
I'd never really thought about this before this moment, but thinking back on it, seeing Peter Mueller's one-timer and seeing Mikko's one-timer these days,
Yeah. Peter Mueller's one-timer was no joke, dude.
Mules could shoot a puck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Number 3.
Oh, it's Chris Drury.
I thought
didn't even have to look.
I thought this was going to be your number 1, to be honest.
No. It's Chris Drury, because if you ask a lot of the old time Avalanche fans, what's the worst trade in Avalanche history?
Drury.
Chris Drury is the runaway winner.
Yep.
So what's up, man?
I know, and I don't
I'm
disagree.
just kidding
I
with you.
don't disagree. This is the trade to Calgary, right?
Yeah,
and
the Derek Morris
Yeller
deal.
was in there too. You know, stuff like my brother-in-law. You know, it was a tough one. It was all about. There was no salary cap back then, but there's an internal structure, and you know, and I'm not saying. Again, it's like you couldn't lose, in a so to speak, and it was more like. You had to make a choice, and I think we've said it before. It was between him and Hayduke. It was one of the two who had to go because the other guys were locked into those long-term deals.
Yeah.
Right? Forsberg, Sakic, Blake, Waugh, Foote, and then those guys fell right there underneath, right there, and then couldn't keep both. It's hard to judge, like not keeping Hayduke. You know, he wins the Rocket Richard. You know, he's got his number in the rafters. I mean, oh my God. I mean, but yeah, am I a fan of Chris Drury? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Did I like the trade at the time because I was part of it? Like, no, I didn't. You know what I mean? But I heard Brian Burke say it the other day. You know, you're making trades sometimes, and you know you don't like them. It's just you have to make it, and it's like you're trying to make the best of it. And that one ended up biting a little bit because you were missing that knack of the big goal and knack of the moment. Drew always rise to the occasion, from the Little League World Series to the college hockey to Stanley Cup to you know,
I mean, any Avalanche fan that watched the 2001 championship team
Awesome.
can tell you about the
Again.
legend of Game 6.
and not only that, you got to remember the Avs lose Forsberg, right?
Yeah.
If a guy like Drury doesn't like play the way Chris Drury did, you know, maybe they don't win the Stanley Cup. You know, because they overcame the loss of Peter Forsberg,
Right.
not for a game, for a couple
2
series.
rounds,
Two
yeah.
rounds.
Yeah,
I mean,
two,
like,
two full rounds
you're
without that guy.
talking about like, wow, you know. So, and you got to understand, when I'm reading the comments, that when you make a trade, though, a lot of times it's when you see bodies added to a trade. It's no disrespect to the guys, but it's the number of contracts. It's what I tell you all the time.
There's always
you're
something
taking
else
on
in
money,
there.
and there's only 1 year left, and sometimes you don't like the player, but you're taking it just because it's part of the deal.
Yeah.
When I say don't like the player, not as a human being, but as a player. You know what I mean? And you don't need them, and you know all that stuff. So
not what I want to hear. I want to
And
hear.
then Peter Forsberg, by the way, never got traded to the Preds.
I want to hear drama. I want to say they hated him. They hated this player, so they traded him.
Yeah, but with Drury, like,
No,
that was heartbreaking.
No.
That was heartbreaking
It
because
was.
he was such an important player.
He was.
To the Cup run, and
Yeah.
you know, that whole everybody's favorite clutch factor. You know, he did have that knack when you needed something in a game.
He was the guy.
Chris Drury
just
just found his way, and he was always, he had a slow heartbeat in those moments,
Yep.
just very calm and comfortable. And you know, as you said, if it's the choice between Hayduk and Drury, it's hard to feel like they got it wrong. But Chris Drury also went on. He had some of the years in Buffalo were really good.
There's an alternate universe where it's Drury's number in the rafters and not Hayduk's, right?
Yeah,
Like,
and when you have Joe Sakic and Peter Forsberg signed, you aren't looking at it and saying we need another center.
Yep.
You're saying, hey, a right wing that has this
what I'm
kind of
saying.
chemistry with Joe
It's
Sakic.
all about
like,
your position. That's why I said it's nothing to do with the play. And they were so stacked, and it's like, you know what I mean? But even Forsberg to the Flyers, it's not even a trade. I'm reading
that's-
chat. It's more. You got to remember you had the lockout.
Yeah, the cap
Yeah, that
came
was
in.
and then the cap
lockout.
came on,
Yeah.
and it was what is it? The rollback was how much? The rollback of, and then these guys had no contract.
it was like $38 million, man.
It was like
when it went from
significant.
75 to 38, and then him and Footy had no contract. That's
Yeah.
why those guys. It's not even a trade. It's like you don't fit in.
Yeah.
like this. We don't have.
Unless
Like,
you're
it was
gonna
you're talking
compliance
about
buy out half your team to
it
make
was
room for.
it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Now you talk about like crazy times. That was crazy times.
Yeah.
Because
I
you
mean,
have to let go of Forsberg and Foot for nothing.
you essentially had to dismantle a cup contending team
That's it.
because of money. So because the league mismanaged itself so badly that
They just couldn't afford the spiraling contracts anymore.
The Avs had already made commitments to
Sakic, there's
Sakic, Blake, and Waugh. There was those three guys, and it
that
just
was
chewed
it?
up their
That was
cap.
it. That's it.
So, yeah, all right, Chris Drury.
Sorry.
Number 2.
Oh, wait, that's the wrong one.
That's our Cy Young seasons one.
Hey.
Yeah, those were fun.
Oh man, I always forget about that Belmar year.
Yep, it's a weird one.
So coming back tomorrow, Eric Johnson. Everybody loves Eric Johnson.
Yep.
I mean, he was so beloved, and it sucked that the prime of his career happened when the Avs just weren't very competitive.
Yep.
And then when the Avs got really good, he was on that downswing.
Yep.
You know, the injuries had taken just enough from him. Age had taken just enough from him. And, you know, the version of Eric Johnson we saw last year just wasn't very good. And it made sense why a young team like Buffalo wanted to go and get him. It just hasn't gone very well. None of that. We don't care about any of that. That's not my pick, not my farm.
Yep.
Eric Johnson won a Stanley Cup in Colorado, which justifies that deal back then.
Yep.
It just does.
Yep.
And Eric Johnson, you know, his friendship with Gabe Landeskog, and I'm sorry, but one of the most iconic like cup photos ever with him waking up in the hotel room with the cup next to him in bed. I mean, it's an all-time great Avalanche memory, you know, and him and Landeskog hugging on the ice and just Eric Johnson gave us a lot of great moments over the years, and I think it's a near universal fan base love.
Oh yeah.
For EJ.
I remember him coming in. He was a little bit of a lost puppy. You know what I mean? You talked about it. You got to remember Jonathan Toews that was third, right? Or second. I don't remember who second was. Number 2 was, but EJ was 1, and Toews had a cup or 2 now, and it's like the pressure and listening to people saying, "Oh, it's a wrong pick," and you know his career just started wrong in St. Louis. He hit that pothole playing golf, right? You know, before it started, he tore his
A
ACL.
pothole for sure.
Yeah.
Well, whatever.
I mean, he had an unreal. He had like 40 some odd points in his rookie. He was a 19-year-old defenseman in the NHL.
And then he falls out of a golf cart.
Yeah, and then he has the
his
golf
leg,
cart.
yeah,
is-
that's what I mean.
and
You know, whatever it was.
His
I mean,
knee was never the same.
No, and then he was a little bit of a lot. I think he needed a change, and it was awesome to see him because what a great kid he was.
Yeah.
But we told him right here, like, hey, just be yourself. I don't know what you are. And, you know, we still thought at that time he was a power play guy. And, you know, I think we used him as a power play guy. And then next thing he ended up being, if he doesn't get hurt like a couple years later, like the Wire, like he might have been a Norris.
He's having the best year of his
career. He could have been a
career,
Norris finally guy. I mean, in my book.
He had like 12 goals in 40 games.
He was unreal. He was playing so good. You know. Anyway, good kid. And just a final little anecdote on him. I always like found the right way to, like, make people feel good. You know, I've been long gone with the Avs, and they win the cup 2 years ago, and I gotta be honest with you, it's one of the best moments, like of being away. Yeah. Sometimes you step away from the game and you feel you're forgotten, or you know what I mean. You don't obviously you're not in it. You're not entrenched every day in it. And I got an email one day, and it was Eric Johnson inviting me to a Stanley Cup party in California to whatever his place is, and I thought it was so nice. Thought it was awesome. And he didn't have to do that, you know what I mean? And those are little things that go, unnoticed. And he didn't do it for the fanfare or whatever. He just did it because he's a good person,
Yeah.
So, awesome guy, too. Like, I don't go in the locker room very much. It's usually, back then it was AJ. Now it's mostly Megan. EJ, first time I met him, AJ introduced me as Nathan at the time. And I came, like, back in the locker room a year later or something, and still knew my name.
Yeah,
like,
very good with
everything
names.
like
Awesome.
that.
Great kid.
The only NHL player that I've ever talked to in a locker room that looks you straight in the eye and addresses you by name when you ask a question.
Yep.
Oh, AJ, that's a stupid question. I don't know why you're even allowed in here, I mean, he never said that to me, but it was always like,
Hey, Jay, you should reconsider your profession.
well, and I remember, do you remember the game in Dallas where Roddick Foxes scored with a broken stick
Yep.
and the Avs
And they
challenged?
still counted it, yeah.
And I went in and I asked Eric Johnson, I said, hey,
What's up with that call?
yeah, what's up with that? I was like, what did they tell you? And he said, it was bullshit. He was like, we're gonna get an apology letter from the league in 2 days. It doesn't do us any good now, does it? We lost the game because they clearly had the rule. It was a bad rule, whatever.
Yeah.
And he just teed off on it, and then I got done, and he gave me a fist bump, and he was like, it was a bad call, right? And I was like, yeah, it was a bad call, man. He scored with a broken stick, dude.
He told Matt Duchene what's up, too, right? After the Duchene trade. That was...
Yeah, that
Not just that, but
that was-
also, I mean, when media day that year,
Yeah.
Matt Duchene walks in and he comes in and he's doing his whatever. He walks in and gives his little shtick, right?
I
hey
don't want to
guys,
be a distraction.
I don't want to be a distraction. I'm not going to talk today. I don't have anything to say. I'm not going to whatever. And he ducks out of there. And the next guy to come in was Eric Johnson. And when those two passed, Matt Duchene walked by. Eric Johnson didn't look at him, didn't acknowledge him, didn't say a single thing to him. There was nothing. And all the other teammates had interacted on some level when they were passing each other.
Yeah.
Because media day, they used to just like it was so different than it is now. And those two guys, totally icy. And you're not kidding. When the Matt Duchene deal went down,
The interview of that era, to be honest.
all the guys in this room are now pulling the rope in the same direction, and that wasn't the case before.
Yeah.
Oh, hockey spicy.
Ba, 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 ba.
Yeah, hockey spicy.
I'm
Oh
going to call
my
you Mr. Lehkenon.
goodness, man. It was something.
Do you have a bunch of honorable mentions that you can think of?
Yeah, I mean, I think Chat had some interesting
he
honorable
one?
mentions.
He was two. We're getting
Tyson Berry was a good one. I wanted to put Tyson Jost on there just to be funny, but I really didn't want to start that fight again.
There are people that would have Tyson Jost at one.
I mean, Tyson Jost is on my personal list of favorite Avs, just favorite people.
Yeah.
I remember when he signed and being around him as he grew up a little bit and, as the frustration started to grow. I remember I was the one who interviewed him when he was in Loveland, when he got that super brief conditioning stint and took Shane Bauer's jersey number because he got there last minute and they didn't have time to make the specialty, the Hockey Fights Cancer jersey. Yep. So he wore Shane Bauer's jersey and they switched out the nameplate at the last minute. His one game wearing that number, it was very funny. And I just have a lot of Tyson Jost memories and just a great kid. So my personal list, he'd be on there, but the Avs fan base is very divided on that dude.
Still a section of the fan base that thinks he hates me. So
Those people were always silly, man.
I read Claude Lemieux there. What a controversial guy. Honestly,
Yeah.
on your team, not on your team. I love Pepe. He's one of my favorites. Here's what I'm going to say to, I can't read CG or OG. CG.
Yeah.
CG about Claude Lemieux was, he'd be the first guy, if any one of us was drowning in the ocean, he'd be the first guy to jump in. And I can say that with conviction.
Yeah.
100%, he'd be the first guy to jump in. I mean, he was so helpful to anyone. Might not have liked him because he is annoying, but I'll tell you one thing. He cared for the guys and he wanted to win, and he's the ultimate winner. This guy was awesome.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and
Number one? Yeah.
Yeah, we can go to number
Or
one.
do you have more?
No, I mean, the Sandis Ozolinsh, Valerie Kamensky types.
The best.
Like, they were beloved. I just feel like they're kind of like Rob Blake, where they
shorter
weren't
tenure,
around
yeah.
so long.
They were the laundry room fellas.
Oh, yeah. Yes. I mean, I believe that.
For sure.
For sure.
And number one, obviously, he was here last night, and I have yet to find an Avalanche fan that does not love him still, but Nazem Kadri.
Yep. Awesome.
There's the dissension among the fans is, should we have kept him or not? That's it.
Yep.
There isn't anything, the way that it ended and the way that it went and his performance in the postseason and the toughness and the resiliency that he showed, and scoring a overtime game-winning goal in the Stanley Cup final with a broken thumb. Like, come on. The hate trick in St. Louis. Come on, man.
All-time stuff.
The
yeah.
beef with Bennington.
Yeah, like that's all that stuff is like all sins forgiven for the suspension the year before and him completely falling asleep defensively in the bubble against Dallas in Game 7. Like, all sins forgiven. They won the cup. He was a huge part of it. Kadri's aces. He will forever be remembered as one of the Avalanche's favorite athletes.
For sure.
Which is amazing to believe, given the ups and downs. Like, especially again, real issues. The Game 7 loss, and then the suspension for the hit on Justin Falk the following year. Like, there were things that went down where you're like, this guy's costing a series, playoff series, and now we all love the guy. He
One
scores
cup,
last night. You're not even mad about it. You're just like,
oh, yeah, Kadri got one. All right.
stupid Kadri. I love that guy. Come on. Gosh.
It's one of those funny things. Like, when Kadri's career is said and done, he's going to have spent most of it in Toronto and Calgary. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people are going to remember him as an Av.
Yep.
For sure.
Oh, that's such a good way to put it, man.
He said it yesterday, right? Friends for life. This is
Yeah.
what it is, right? You could see in his eyes, he was so happy to answer the questions about what it was like to be here and everything. Hey, when you win, that's what it does. Winning cures all. It does.
Well, if you've been blindsided by Nazem Kadri, call 222-2222 today and get Bacchus and Shanker on your side for any situation that you've been hurt and are not at fault. Car accident, injured at work, downtown, something crazy happened. Bacchus and Shanker has your back. They'll give you a free consultation at the 2-number or coloradolaw.net. And if you have a case, you pay them nothing up front. They don't get paid until you get paid, which you will get paid. They've won over $1 billion for their clients in the 25 plus years they've been doing it here in Colorado. So get with them. Bacchus and Shanker wins. And then go get yourself some delicious Breckenridge Brewery beer. 8 different kinds on tap down here at the bar. They've got their new Christmas ale. You can get it for $6 a bottle here at the bar. Yeah, that is definitely a snacky one. Low-key 7% alcohol, too. You don't need too many Christmas ales to get the job done. So go give a look at that. You can find Breckenridge Brewery at your local liquor store using breckbrew.com today. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. We don't have a ton of time left, but I did want to talk about the league itself. Getting a little spicy, a lot of fighting and suspensions and hits and all sorts of stuff going on.
I just want to go back to the EJ real quick.
Go ahead.
Super quickly here. He was drafted, why this was such a huge thing at the time. He was drafted in front of Jordan Stahl, Jonathan Taves, Nicholas Backstrom, and Phil Kessel.
All dudes that won cups before he did.
Yep.
That's
And
tough.
that's why when you win it, like
Yeah.
you did, you see the emotion.
Yeah.
And, like it's like, oh my God, so worth it. You know what I mean? When you know the history, it makes you cry because you're like, oh God, good for him. You know what I
And
mean? Like,
that's why it was such a big deal
It
at the
is.
time of the trade, and why it was anybody familiar with it was so thrilled for him when he
Yep.
did win that cup, man.
it was awesome.
Getting back to the drama, you saw a little bit of it the other night in the Avs game, nothing near as bad as what we'll talk about, but with Noah Hannafin getting mad at Ross Colton over a clean hit. At what point does this stuff start to spiral out of control? Because we talked a lot about how the NHL player doesn't see the hit live. He just turns around and see that his player's hurt, and he just goes after someone, right?
Yeah, I mean, we saw it with LOC with the Byram hit.
Totally. But now, over the last couple of days, you've seen the David Perron situation with Dylan Larkin, which has anyone figured out what happened to Larkin on that play? Other than obviously he gets knocked out, but it's just a weird play.
Yeah.
And then you have Eric Goodbranson feeding a guy fists on the ice after he was mad about getting hit earlier in the game.
Nick Cousins should get a suspension for being a fucking coward.
Well, he took matters in his own hands.
I'm not an old school hockey guy, but that pissed me off watching both of those. You don't get to talk all that shit.
And then turtle it out.
Yeah, because it's the hit, and he's talking, and he's yapping it up, and he's yapping it up, and then after he turtles, he gets up, and he's just yammering away at Eric Goodbranson, and it was like, you had your chance. Eric Goodbranson gave you a chance, man. I mean, kind of. He sort of jumped him, but...
kind of jumped him.
Well, and
That's called the aggressor. 1 game suspension.
Yeah.
There's no kind of. He did.
Accurate description. Anyway.
That was funny.
So that Goodbranson gets a game for that situation. David Perron gets 6 games for a cross check to the head, essentially.
Yeah.
After the Larkin situation.
Of the totally unrelated guy.
Yeah, picks the wrong guy to go after.
Just turned around. He saw the first guy there. Poor guy. He gets it right in the friggin'.
Artem's
didn't
up
get
just
injured,
hanging
thank
out,
God.
man. And he's like, what the
He didn't miss a shift, so thank God. But
Yeah.
it looks bad. It does.
And it was nice to see the NHL not punish injury.
Right.
They threw
Yeah.
the book at David Perron, and Artem's up was totally fine.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
But Perron, a guy easy to hate in Colorado. This close to elbowing Kadri's head.
He
in the
tried.
hate trick. Yeah.
He tried.
Yep. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it. It feels like it's gotten a little bit out of hand this week with some of that defending your teammates stuff.
It's been an interesting. I mean, where I think David Perron is right is he turns around and he sees his
Larkin straight up unconscious.
He sees the captain of his team look like he's just done.
Yeah.
Like he's splayed out face first on the ice and he's not moving.
Yeah.
He picks the wrong guy, and that's where I'm like, man, this unbridled rage has got to
Somewhere
bridle it a little bit, I guess.
somewhere between not bothered and red mist, please.
Yeah, straight up. And you know, it all happens so fast, and he probably doesn't even see who does it, and he's just like, well, that guy's near me, and goes for it. But and like defending teammates, it's always a thing that, you know, I had no problem with the LOC thing. I didn't really have a huge problem with the Flames last night because Hannafin's going after a guy that just smoked Chris Tanev, and Chris Tanev's hurt. Chris Tanev leaves and doesn't play the rest of the game. Like, he gets hurt.
Yeah.
And you know, that's Eric can speak to this better than I can, obviously, but defending your teammate, it's a huge part of being in a locker room. You know, sticking up for one another and caring about, you know, the well-being. And when one of your guys goes down, especially a well-respected veteran like that, you feel the need to be like, hey, I'm going to do something about it.
The one thing I'll say though is it happens so quick out there. You don't.
Yeah.
I mean, look, we're talking about Perron.
course,
Of course he doesn't see it. His eyes are then on the back of his head. But like last night, Hannafin, he might not even see Tanev. It's his partner. Next thing you know, he's down. And you're right, you don't know the extent of what happened, so you just kind of show up there and see what's up. And like I said the other day about Dermy, sometimes just going in there to, you know what I mean, just you want the other guy to all of a sudden he drops and starts swinging at you, and then all of a sudden maybe you have, you know, he doesn't know there's no penalty on Colton, right? You know what I mean? Like, you don't know. It happens quick, you know, so.
He hears the noise and he sees his teammate
That's
down,
it.
and
It's
he's
just
like,
a reaction.
not
you know?
cool, man.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, a good point, because I don't really have a problem with what happened with Hannafin afterward. He kind of puts Colton in a headlock, nothing crazy, right? As opposed to Perron, who cross-checks a dude in the head.
No, there's a big difference.
Yeah. Like what Perron did, like it's after the whistle.
Yeah.
He literally just picks a guy who's just like standing there. He's not engaged with anybody.
No.
He's not doing anything. And so I'm with it, man. I thought 6 games. I was like, get him, dude.
Yeah.
You and I have spent a long time on this
They should
podcast
be much more aggressive.
saying that these
yeah.
1 or 2 game suspensions don't do shit. They need to be more like 4, 5, 6,
Yeah.
8 games. Make your point.
Yep.
You know, Nazem Kadri had the book thrown at him in the postseason. Hasn't done it since.
Yep.
Like, make your point in the NHL. These 1 game suspensions are for the birds, except for the Eric Gudbranson one. I'm with that. I think that's fine
That was funny.
because that's not like a dirty hit that you're trying to take out of the game. Like that's a guy who was like, this guy just smoked me. You guys didn't do shit about it, so I'm gonna do something.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough.
There's nothing wrong with 1 game suspensions. It's just when you talk about something like hits to the head, and the NHL has been so, hey, we're trying to get this out of the game. Then
Yeah.
get it out of the game. Do it. Suspend people for real amounts of time.
Yeah, make it punitive. Like make guys miss game checks.
Yep.
Like you're gonna lose this money because of it, and you know.
Everybody needs a break. It's Christmas almost, or holidays. It's like everybody needs a little holiday break.
Cool
now.
off a bit.
Cool off. Take a time out.
No, we need holiday drama. That's what we need.
Yeah.
Give me the good stuff.
Yeah. So it was kind of an interesting,
Weird week in
collection
hockey, yeah.
of events. I like the suspension on Perron. I was disappointed that there wasn't more unhappiness about the Cousins board
Sure.
on Gudbranson. I thought it was pretty clearly a bad infraction. And I think that's where fans get upset with the officiating, is because you're like, yeah, this guy felt like he was going to do it because the official didn't punish him.
Yeah.
There wasn't a meaningful punishment for the player.
There's always been the idea in hockey that they will police themselves if you don't.
Exactly. That's part of why fighting still exists in the sport. You know, it's why people always talk about it, where they're like, hey, if you do something, you're going to have to answer for it. Well, Eric Gudbranson certainly forced that answering upon Nick Cousins. And twice, Nick Cousins was being, for my money, he was being a coward about it. And it's just cowardly. I don't have any respect for it. He hides behind the officials each time. Once he gets to safety, he starts talking.
Yeah.
And I just that kind of stuff, it turns me off so quickly from a guy. That's not a competitor. That's not a guy that's out there just doing his thing. That's a guy being a bitch.
Yeah.
I'm not with it.
I agree.
I sound like an old guy, I sound like a old school, like there's not the game's not physical enough anymore, but
it's more of a, if you can't take the heat, stay out of the kitchen type
yeah,
thing.
like it's really like if you're going to play a certain kind of way, and Nick Cousins has always kind of played a physical brand. But if you're gonna go in hard like that, you know that sometimes it's not gonna go well, and you're gonna need to stand up for yourself.
Yep.
He just didn't do it twice.
Yep.
Second time was a little tougher to stand up for himself because Eric Gudbranson put him down quick. But then don't just get up and then start talking. Like you've just been laying on the ice with both hands over your face. Don't stand up when the referee has separated you and start yapping at the guy.
You're square, move on with life.
Exactly. You just got force-fed fists, dude. Just be done with it.
All right. Any final thoughts, any drama you guys want to touch on before we get out of here?
Just one more thing.
Yeah, go.
You know, like obviously you saw the news there, former Avs coach Tony Granato, right?
Yeah.
Fighting non-Hodgkin's.
Less drama and more sad.
Yeah, no, exactly. Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So good luck to him. I know he watches the show all the time, so maybe he is watching right now. So obviously a good friend of ours and good friend of mine, and we want to wish him good luck.
Yep. All the best.
Yes.
Hopefully gets through it.
Yep.
All right. On that note, we are going to get out of here for the day. We appreciate all y'all hanging out with us with our little drama alert time on the show. Maybe we'll get to do this again in 4 years. Who knows?
God, right? No kidding, man.
Be sure to check out Kind Love if you want to forget the drama and all of your worries. They are one of the first dispensaries here in Colorado. They've existed since 2010. They've got all sorts of amazing products, whether it be their turbo joints or just their normal flower or otherwise. You can visit one of their stores in Cherry Creek, North Denver. or North Denver, that is, and mention DNVR to get 25% off all Kind Love flour pre-rolls and their turbo joints. You can also go to kindlove.com and use the DNVR code for online ordering and their full menu. We will be back tomorrow for the game.
Late one.
Yeah, we had a lot of late ones.
We got to bring that up, man. We're all mad about it.
So stay up, and we'll see you then.
We all silly like the mayor.